Okay, so unpopular opinion warning. I know this might stun quite a few of you, and to be honest, I never thought I'd ever say this, but I actually wasn't too crazy about How to Train Your Dragon 3. Okay. Before you start typing your frenzied comments down below, let me make a few disclaimers. Then we'll get into the meat of the final chapter of the How to Train Your Dragon saga. Okay, so when I say that I wasn't crazy about it, do I mean that I didn't like it? No, I certainly didn't hate it. Do I mean that you can't love it and that your opinions don't matter? Well, you'd think I wouldn't have to say that, but no, that's not what I mean. I guess what I mean is that I expected a bit more from this movie than what I received, and I'll explain what I mean in a bit. Well, before we get into my review of this movie, I have to warn of spoilers. I really can't avoid them with this movie, so if you don't want to get spoiled, then leave now, go watch the film, then come back. Okay, so first things first. I have to say that I am a huge fan of the How to Train Your Dragon series. I loved the first movie, loved it. I loved the TV shows. I loved the characters, the dragon designs, and the story world. Toothless is one of the best movie creatures ever. I love the overarching story within both the movies and the shows. But what was it about this third movie that, I don't know, didn't quite resonate with me like the first movie did? That was due to a few factors, but before we go into the plot and reasons why I didn't love the movie, I'm going to delve into what I did love about this movie, because there is a lot to love about this one. First off, the animations and visual effects were nothing short of stunning. The detail in the dragons and everything else was dazzling and exciting. There's never a dull moment on screen. The new dragon species were extremely interesting, though the grand prize goes to the villain's dragons, the Death Grippers. Whoo boy, were these dragons friggin' awesome. With a scorpion-like design and hands like a praying mantis, they had retractable tusks and breathed acid that lit on fire. I loved this new dragon species. Probably the most sinister looking and sounding dragon in the entire storyline. The character dynamic between Hiccup and Astrid was executed perfectly in this movie. Their romance had been set up over the course of the entire saga, but here in this movie it's put in the forefront. Within the first 15 minutes, Gobber is asking the couple why they just can't seem to get married. Initially they refused, giving excuses on why they couldn't or didn't want to. However, over the course of the movie and through the trials they go through, they learn to truly work together as a team. Astrid especially learns to be there for Hiccup through the stresses of leading Berk and to give him the strength and support he needed. Hiccup learned to let Astrid in instead of trying to fix everything on his own. Their relationship grew with the movie, and that was probably what I enjoyed most about the entire film. Another facet of this movie I appreciated was how Astrid is handled. And while I don't like to get political on the channel, I have to draw attention to the fact that while Astrid is no doubt a strong female character, she doesn't feel the need to rub that in the audience's faces every 5 minutes. She's an awesome character, but she relies on Hiccup just as much as he relies on her. It's how I wish strong female characters were handled all the time. Hiccup's new position as leader was handled realistically and believably. He's no longer a scrawny little boy in this film, he's the leader. His transformation across the saga made it all the more satisfying to see it in this film. Toothless was also just fantastic in this movie, as always. He also gets a girl, the Light Fury, which is a female Night Fury. The scene where Hiccup tries to help Toothless impress the Light Fury is comedic and heartfelt, and is probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie. And the ending, man, the ending, though definitely saddening, was just so good. Letting go of the dragons was the only sensible way to end the trilogy, and it ties into the theme Stoic tells Hiccup earlier in the film during a flashback. With love comes loss, that's part of the deal, but in the end it's all worth it. It's a great message that rings home to pretty much every human being on the planet. The final scene where Toothless and Hiccup reunite with Astrid and Hiccup's children was easily one of my favorite scenes in the whole trilogy. It was a fantastic and beautiful way to end the film. So as you can tell, there was a lot that I enjoyed about this movie, but here comes the negatives, and you're welcome to disagree with me. First off, as much as I like the supporting cast, does anyone else find the fact that they talk like American teenagers annoying? Look, I'm not asking that they have the same thick Scottish accents as Gobber, but I've always sort of disliked the teens' use of slang words or language only modern American teenagers use. Yeah, I can be a bit of a purist that way. I could tolerate it in the first 2 films and even in the TV shows, but in this film, some of the dialogue just really grated on me, and I'm not quite sure why. Tough Nut's ridiculous monologue in the dungeon scene literally aggravated me to death. I understand that it was meant to be annoying, but even by annoying standards, I couldn't take it. When a Viking in a fantasy world of dragons uses the word beefcake, my immersion in the film is going to shatter like a mirror when Shrek looks into it. I've written actual fantasy stories before, and I would never, ever put a word like beefcake into it. It's probably just me, but I really disliked it. That pretty much goes for most of the supporting cast, unfortunately. Snotlout and the twins Roughnut and Toughnut were just really freaking annoying to me in this film. Snotlout's bizarre crush on Hiccup's mother was just, well, it was a bit weird. Plus, Toughnut was a huge idiot in this film, more so than she was previously. Like I said before, Hiccup and Astrid were written and handled perfectly in this film, which is why I'm so confused as to why I found the supporting cast so annoying. Granted, Toughnut's bro talks with Hiccups were genuinely funny sometimes, maybe because I was relating to Hiccup. Gobber was fine in this movie, even though he was more of an extra than a main character, which is disappointing because I love Gobber. Another thing I noticed was that the soundtrack was significantly less epic than in the first film, which had one of the best soundtracks of any animated movie. There were only a few instances in the back half of the film where the classic themes came into play. Next come the humor and jokes. I get that How to Train Your Dragon series has its fair share of juvenile humor in the past, but in this film I felt like there were just too many repeated jokes, or jokes that didn't quite land right, i.e. Snotlout getting hanged up on his suit, Fishleg's baby Gronkle on the battlefield, Snotlout getting snubbed by Vulca, Roughnut being an idiot. That's not to say that the film was unfunny, because quite a bit of it was, but only if it involved Hiccup, Toothless, Astrid, or Gobber. Now comes the villain, and I gotta say, the villain was a big disappointment for me. His name was Grimmel the Grizzly, and he's a near carbon copy of Drago Bloodfist from the second film. Like, almost completely. He has a fleet of ships, like Drago. He wants to capture all of Berk's dragons, like Drago. He can brainwash and manipulate dragons, like Drago. He wants to build a dragon army, like Drago. You get the point. I liked Grimmel a bit more than Drago, but the two characters were just way too uncannily similar. While his presence did bring a sense of stakes, his henchmen were nothing but a bunch of bird brains. They went down easier than stormtroopers to Ewok sticks. Also, the climax seemed to resolve itself way too easily. Grimmel captures the dragons, Toothless gets a lucky shot at Grimmel's crossbow, he frees himself, the Vikings fight Grimmel's henchmen without a single casualty, and the other dragons fly away on the ships. Aside from Hiccup and Grimmel fighting it out on the back of the Light Fury, the climax was actually kind of boring. So where does that leave us? Again, as I said, I did not hate this movie, really I didn't, but I guess I expected more from it. Even the title of this movie is slightly misleading. The Hidden World is only in a single scene of the movie that lasts for less than 15 minutes. It's disappointing for me because I really wanted to love this movie, and there were quite a few soaring highs, but there were also quite a few sputtering lows. From downright annoying side characters to cringy dialogue to flat jokes to non-threatening villains. I feel bad even writing this review. I don't want to come across as a mindless internet troll or someone who hates things simply because other people like them. That's not how I operate. I just feel like this movie isn't the masterpiece that the first film was. I would stack the first How to Train Your Dragon film right next to the best of Pixar like Up or Monsters, Inc. It's a children's film that anybody, even older adults, can enjoy and relate to. This film just doesn't have that same luster despite the phenomenal ending and a few other memorable moments. It's a shame too because there's so much to appreciate between the films of growing up, to marriage, to accepting loss, to letting go, to learning how to love. Yes, I would still recommend watching the movie, but with a warning, you may not feel the same raging fire that the first film possessed. It isn't exactly a puff of smoke, but it lacks the fire that I've seen before. Thanks for watching my review of How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. As I've said before, and this should be a given, but you're welcome to disagree with me or tell me your thoughts of the movie down in the comments box. If you guys enjoyed, then leave a like, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.